It's on, it's on, it's on. What's up, everyone? We are back. We are here to give you some more lists and categories and stuff. We
Yes.
are we are the Back Bracket Brothers. Thank you
Mm.
for seeing us again. I am Janae. The
All right.
the
Don.
man up there
Yes.
with me is
Don.
Don Taylor.
Woo. Go Rattlers.
And we are doing it. We are in the thick of it for our list for the greatest single season uh, ever.
Mm.
Whatever single season from a team was the greatest for you, you are going to be able to vote on it and see if your favorite can beat everyone else. So we're on our third leg for the teams, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Third. Yeah.
And
Third recording. Yep.
yeah, so we have 32 teams already gone. We're gonna get the other teams out so you guys are able to look at all the teams and try and figure out which one is the best. I already know my pick.
Yeah. I think I know. At least I'm gonna vote for one. I'm sending one to everybody in FAMU. I know. I know who I'm sending it to. So, yeah. We have a shot at it. We have a shot.
Exactly. So I think we should just go ahead and get started.
All
What do
right.
you
Let's
think?
do it.
Let's
Let's do it.
see.
Let's do it. All right. So is it on me to get it going?
You know what? I want you to get it going this time because I
All right. Let's
started the
do it.
last two. So I
All right.
want
Okay.
I want the big Don to
All
start us
right.
on this one.
All right. So we gonna go. Let's get the one that everybody's thinking probably is a favorite to win this whole thing. It is
Oh,
the
I know what you're.
1972 Miami Dolphins.
See,
The
that's why I gave it to you.
yeah, yeah, out there in the MIA. The Fins is the only perfect season in the NFL. It's almost like nothing else needs to be said. That includes regular season, postseason, and Super Bowl. Super Bowl seven looks like over the formerly known as Redskins.
Hmm.
We can talk stats all we want. We can talk Hall of Fame players all we want. We're going to do some of that just to say it. They were 17-0. They were the only NFL team to ever pull this off. The only team that seemed there's a team that got close that we talked about earlier in the bracket with the 2007 Patriots, but this is the team. Perfect NFL season. Any thoughts up front?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Miami. I,
Mm-hmm.
um, and this was before my time. But yeah, everyone always talks about the 72 Dolphins. I
Mm-hmm.
I used to, revere them a lot until they started getting cocky in their old age. So they love to not be beat. Let's just put it that
Yes.
way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The cracking of the champagne, the smoking of cigars, wherever they are, whenever the last perfect team goes down
Yep.
in an NFL season, they just love to do that, don't they?
Well,
But
they say it's a myth. They say there's like one or two guys maybe do that, but I
now
think they really do. I think they really do.
I,
I think
I
they got something going and they do.
I've seen videos of them do it. They do it. Maybe they don't do it like
Yeah, Larry
as a
Zonka,
group.
Mercury Morris, all those
Hmm.
guys. Oh
And I
yeah.
mean, and of course, we're talking about the Hall of Famers, like Larry Zonka and the legendary Don Shula,
Yes.
the head coach. But honestly, I don't know that much about this team. I don't really. I never really looked at them.
Mm-hmm.
I never really like apparent. Obviously they did things as a complete team.
Yeah.
They had the offense, they had the defense, they went
Yeah.
perfect. So you can't take that away from them.
It's kind of take it away. Now, what's interesting, they said Bob Greasy. I didn't realize that Bob Greasy broke his ankle week 5. So there was the backup quarterback week 5 onward. that led the team all the way through. Earl Morale. He was career backup his whole
Oh
career.
wow. Okay, that I
So
didn't know.
yeah, so um, it's really something that I'm sure of all teams to go through. It was a no-name defense. So Tom Landry called them that as well. So and again, it just
Yeah.
feels like the no name. All I hear is Mercury Morris because the name has alliteration.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Um, and then another fun fact is that according to the NFL, they rank them as the best team of all time
Right.
in their 100th and on their 100th anniversary. So I mean, the NFL. I mean, I guess the NFL. It's hard to not say it because no one else has pulled it off. Uh, Although I'm sure there's a lot of people that could say, man, a lot of teams could have beaten those guys. When it just all worked out. And then one other thing that's an interesting point, they did get invited to the White House, but not in '72 or '73 even, because that was not a thing back then. They got
Uh,
invited in 2013 by Barack Obama to do a White House visit. That
wow. Okay.
now is standard. It's been I don't know exactly when they started, but it's standard now for all championships in America for the major and even college
Right.
sports to have something. So yeah, it's the no name defense. I mean, there's names in there, then but I understand they barely beat the Redskins, I believe, in the Super Bowl. If I can pull it up quickly here, and it's yeah, they beat them 14-7. They beat
Mm-hmm.
the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-17, and they beat the Cleveland Browns in the divisional 20-14. It was the season. There were very few. I said for the one against the Patriots. Yeah, the only time there was very few like true blowouts. They did beat the Patriots 52-0. But a lot of these games, such as life in the NFL, tends to be 10-point wins, 17-point wins,
Right.
stuff like that. So it's one of those things. Officially for the NFL, it's the best team of all time. So
I mean, yeah, you can't
we got to
like I said,
respect it.
like I said, you can't say anything about it. They're the only perfect season. They're the only perfect team in NFL history. So slot them wherever you need to.
Yep.
Yes.
And let's see how they do in the bracket. Let's see. Do we think they're the best team of all time? Do we agree with the NFL?
All
All right.
right.
So over to you, my man.
Let's see. Let's go from one team that I don't know that much about to another team that I don't know that much about.
Okay.
But this is a team that kind of shocked the world as well. So let's
Mm.
go. Let's go for one of those big shockers. The 1983 NC State Wolfpack.
Oh, NC State. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
NC State. Yeah.
Oh
From 83.
yeah. Looking for someone
So
to hug.
so yeah, we go from the disappointment of one team to the
Mm.
triumph of another, because we already talked about the Houston Cougars of 1983. So let's talk about the other side of that. NC State was anything but dominant. They
Mm.
were they were a good team, but they had misfortune when one of its stars, Derek Wittenberg, broke his foot in the middle of the season. And although they got him back at the end of the season, the Wolfpack had a 17-10 record going into their conference tournament. But they surprised top 10 teams, Virginia and North Carolina, to win the ACC title, thus giving them an automatic bid for the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on one second. Oh, it's right there. Sorry.
Sure, sure.
Um, all their wins were very close, except for one on their way to the Final Four, where they
Mm-hmm.
smoked Georgia, and they
Love
met the
that.
number one ranked Houston Cougars in the finals.
Mm. Mm.
Painting a picture now. In the last minute of the finals, it was tied at 52. The Cougars defense held guard Sidney Lowe from driving into the lane and forced a loose ball, where Wittenberg picked it up and launched a long shot with 4 seconds left. And it came up well short, but it came up in the hands of Lorenzo Charles, where he softly dunked the ball as time expired, ending the game 54-52, and the Wolfpacks won. One of the most improbable wins in NCAA history. So we can talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, whew. It's something growing up in North Carolina from like 9 years old till college age that people
Oh, really?
continue to talk about. Oh yeah, people continue to talk about it, and of course, because it's surrounded by the Jordan win, which I think was the year before at North Carolina Chapel Hill, and you
Yeah.
got all those great Duke teams, especially when you get into the early '90s and all of that stuff.
Wow, you know
Uh,
what? I didn't even think about that. North Carolina won the year before,
the
and
year
then
before,
North Carolina State won in '83. Wow. Okay.
so it's really.
Y'all was riding high. Okay.
Oh, we were riding high. Oh, basketball in North Carolina when I got out there was
Mm-hmm.
just the top of the top. I mean, because the Hornets had just showed up
Mm-hmm.
and they had the number one attendance in the NBA that first or second year in the NBA, and they actually had that teal color because all the teams and nobody in the NBA in them days had colors like that, and that's
Right.
similar-ish to the Carolina Tar Heels with the light blue and all that. But anyway, back to NC State. They still talk about this in Carolina, in North Carolina. They still talk about the big win. I was saying in another video that I was at the ACC tournament in DC about 3 months ago. And every time NC State started winning and even won a game, which it mirrored this exact story
Mm-hmm.
at that time, we all said, oh my gosh, is it 1983 all over again? And the two teams they beat to surprise win Virginia and North Carolina, Chapel Hill. It's the same thing. It's the same scenario again. And they were not projected to go to the tournament at all. And so we're thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. And they went to the finals. And I didn't win this time, but we kind of wish it did because
Yeah.
I like them. But yeah, it's really, really good team. I think it's the season, the video of Jimmy V running on the
Mm-hmm.
court, looking for someone to hug after that win against the Cougs. It just lives on. And of course, we know about Jimmy V with the foundation for cancer research and all of that down the line. Because I don't know if he did much of anything else. I got to look at it, but I think that may have been it.
Yeah.
Oh, and they beat Ralph Sampson, who people thought was basically like the Patrick Ewing, Shaquille O'Neal of his day when
You're
they beat
right.
Virginia.
Uh-huh.
So uh, this is certainly when we're talking upsets, comebacks, heck of a season. This is definitely one that should be in this bracket.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
All right.
It's on you. Let's go with the next
All
one.
right, let's just hang out in on Tobacco Road here.
I knew you were gonna
Easy to
do
edit. And I'm gonna go to actually North Carolina State, who they hate most is North Carolina
it.
Tar Heels, 1982. This team, and the championship game that they played in had three or more Hall of Famers and five future NBA All Stars. They had the best of both worlds. The Tar Heels had the record. They had the big center with Sam Perkins, big game James Worthy, and the tournament's most outstanding player and young freshman named Michael Jeffrey Jordan. But they weren't just facing anyone; they're facing a stacked Georgetown team, and this is when Georgetown was really something. Led by
Uh-huh.
Patrick Ewing. Boy, we would see that again, but we not. Third Hall of Famer. They had a 32-2 record for the Tar Heels at the time. And going to the championship game, came down to the last shot. James Worthy, Carolina got it. James Worthy, star of the team, was the star of the team and of the tournament, but Jordan was the spotlight. And it foreshadowed the things to come in the NBA. So Carolina won that game 63-62. I believe we have Jordan makes another couple of appearances in this bracket. But this is where a lot of that really started, the 82 Tar Heels. What are you thinking?
So yeah, this is I call this one of the launching pads of the one of the greatest eras in NBA history because
Hmm.
you have three legendary Hall of Famers. You have four All Stars altogether. You
Yes.
have four. You have four names there. You have Sam Perkins. You have Patrick Ewing, and then you have James Worthy and Michael Jordan.
Jordan.
And of course, Jordan is above everyone else.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when you look back, you have one of the most dominant. You have one of the most dominant centers in the dominant center era. You
Hmm.
have one of the best scorers and Finals MVP, um, who was on one of the best dynasties of all time. And then you have Jordan, who is, he's Jordan. And you all have them at the same time playing in the same finals. And I don't know. I don't know if it ever got any better than that as far as college is concerned. When you have that collective, that much talent
Oh God, yeah,
in in one game.
yeah,
So it was a great time to, be alive and watch, watch games like that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know if people understood what Jordan was going to be, but I
I don't
think,
know if they saw all that. Yeah.
but they got to witness, you know, something.
It's something to think about with this game because we talk about NBA talent on on the team. Just on this Carolina team alone, the players drafted, I'm counting that were on this roster's team that
Mm-hmm.
found their way to the NBA eventually, got drafted at least. James Worthy, Jimmy Black, Chris Brust, Jeb Barlow, Jim Braddock, Jordan, Sam Perkins, Matt Doherty, Cecil Exum, Buzz Peterson, John Brown Lee, and Warren Martin. Was that 12 guys?
Matt
All got
Doherty, I forgot
drafted.
about him.
Yeah, all got drafted in the NBA on this one team. That it probably is the full roster. There may be
Yeah.
like a couple of, maybe like the coach's son is like the manager or something. He's in the back of the bench. I mean, it's that's insane. It
It
is
is.
really, and then you think about the guys they beat because just to make sure we're not missing something here. Um, the Georgetown team at the time. I mean, it's the most insane freaking thing of all time. So you got Patrick Ewing up there, Bill
Mhm.
Martin, Eric Sleepy Floyd, Anthony Jones.
I forgot about Sleepy Floyd. Damn
Yeah,
it, I
Sleepy
knew I.
Floyd as well. Also from Gastonia. Okay, not too far from Charlotte. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really, and this was when college basketball, the NCAA tournament was such a launching pad for the NBA and the the marketing and all that. We had it just kind of rolled into it. And it's
Yeah.
not really that today. So the more modern audience won't understand. But yeah, the Jordan team, the Carolina 82 Carolina team, Dean Smith with the coach. It's just stuff of legend in basketball, period, and certainly where I grew up in North Carolina. Just stuff of legend.
Mm-hmm. All
All
right.
right,
Putting it
let's
down.
keep it going. Just since I'm over here, one more on Tobacco Road. Let's just because we know we got the family coming.
I know.
The other big rival on Tobacco Road, the
Oh, whoa, whoa,
1992
whoa, whoa,
Duke.
hold up. Hold up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
My turn.
Oh, it's your turn. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
My
You
bad.
you the one
Go
who's
ahead.
over
My
here.
bad. Oh
You
man,
the
I'm
one
over
over
here.
here. Is that
I'm
old
having a good
Tobacco
time.
Road? You just having a good
Woo! I'm having
time
a
because
good
it's
time.
North
We're talking
Carolina.
Carolina ball here.
Look
We're
at
having a
that.
good
Look at
time.
that.
Go for it, brother. Go
Did,
for it. My bad.
do you see me? Do you see me
I'm looking
trying
right
to
at
take
you.
over? You trying to take over? Like even I'm not doing that. And I know I could take over with
Oh,
West
I'm not
Coast
even.
stuff.
I'm over. I got so
You
excited.
you don't want
Oh
me to
my
do that.
goodness, boy! I can talk ACC basketball till the cows come home.
He was he really was ready to
Oh,
go.
I am. Mine is
He's
my
like,
bad. Oh
let
man.
I'm gonna put them all down. See, I started that. That's my fault. I shouldn't have said anything about NC
Oh
State.
yeah.
So,
All right. So
all
scratch what
right.
I said. Pick the next team, whoever you want.
Thank you very much. Because
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm gonna go. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm looking at this correctly. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 1998 Minnesota Vikings. How about that?
Ooh, that was a team.
Yeah, it was a high
Should have
octane
won it.
team.
Yeah,
Let me
should have won
see.
it. Mm.
The high octane offensive force that was the Vikings was something to see. The brilliance of All Pro QB Randall Cunningham was only matched by his Hall of Famer um, wide receiver Chris Carter and a young
Mm.
rookie sensation named Randy Moss.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Together, altogether, it was TDs galore. Moss had 17 catches, 7 TD catches, which led the NFL, and Carter had 12 catches, 12 TD catches. And they combined for over 2,300 receiving yards.
Mm.
And we can't forget about their all-pro running back, Robert Smith. He rushed for 1,187 yards and had 6 TDs.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was flying for the team until the NFC Championship. Hall of Famer kicker Gary Anderson, the man who hadn't missed a field goal or extra point
Mm.
all year,
Mm.
missed a 38-yard field goal in the fourth quarter that opened the door for Atlanta to
Oh.
score and force overtime, where they won 30-27.
Mm.
One of the bigger disappointments, but the team itself was just red hot. So now you can say something.
Okay, cool. It's boy, I remember this when I was at FAMU. First year at FAMU, we were all rooting for Minnesota because that was a black team too.
Right,
Dennis
right.
Green was the coach. He had black coach, black quarterback. Randy Moss, well, a lot of black wide receivers, but he was like real country black, so even better. And and of course, and when they lost to Atlanta, I was coming back from practice, and oh man, all the cafeteria workers at the school had Atlanta Falcons stuff drawn in shoe polish or erasable marker all over everything.
Wait,
Like,
what?
what's going? Yeah, they took shoe and drew Atlanta Falcons logos. And go Atlanta, go Falcons. Like, what do you mean? What happened? Lost the game.
Why they use shoe polish?
Because I guess you something. It looked like shoe polish. Man, I don't know why. I guess it's why they even had shoe polish in the cafeteria to then
Country
have
ass.
it that they could put countries on.
Country ass.
So
That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah, it's country. But yeah, this team, I think this team is right up there, and it's forgotten because it didn't make the Super Bowl. They say it was the greatest team according to the NFL to not make the Super Bowl.
I can agree with
And
that.
they were like the 2007 Patriots before the 2007 Patriots. They just blew away everybody, especially
Gary,
Warren Moon. Everybody got blown
uh,
out. The playoffs, I mean, not preseason, I'm sorry, the regular season. I mean, who even came? They only lost one game, and that was by 3 points to the Buccaneers. I mean, they're
mm-hmm.
beating the Redskins 41-7. They're beating Detroit Lions 29-6. They're scoring 46, 38, 50 points, 50-10 against the Jaguars. I mean,
And it's
absolute just
and
destruction.
I think to myself that this is a team that really had everything. They had everything going for them. The addition of Randy Moss, who was
Hmm.
labeled as a potential trouble for any
Yes.
team.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Minnesota picked him up off of a steal because he was supposed to go in the top 10
Yes.
until allegedly he's a troublemaker. That was how much talent he had. He was top 10 for the draft, and he went. I can't remember. Was it 17 or something like that, or
Hmm.
early 20s,
I have
late
to look it
20s?
up. Yeah, he fell, and that's why because he fell pretty low.
Yeah, I
Coming
remember
out
he.
of Marshall, if I recall. I don't,
Yep,
yeah,
Marshall U.
the thundering herd.
And they picked him up. He got acclimated. He went under Chris Carter's wing. And next thing you know, this dude is a superstar right out the gate. I mean, he was doing things that made everyone else look slow. Like you
Yes,
couldn't believe it. Like
unreal.
it wasn't just his catching ability, which again, you never seen anything like it other than maybe Jerry Rice, but his speed, he literally made people look like they're walking. And
Oh yeah,
he could get into the end zone anytime he wanted to.
oh
That
yeah,
was just it. And saying that, he was obviously tough.
oh yeah.
And this team just had everything. And they had the greatest
They had
place
it all.
kicker. They had the greatest place
Yeah,
kicker
he made every field goal and
ever,
extra point.
ever.
Yeah,
This man is legendary. He's the greatest place
yeah,
kicker
Gary
ever.
Anderson, and he
And
missed the
and he
doggone
missed a
kick.
and he missed the I can't even fathom that. Like, how did he miss a 38 yarder?
Mm,
It's one, you know what it is. It's one of those
yeah.
things. It's just not meant to be.
Well, it's similar to the Patriots, where how do they lose to the freaking Giants in the helmet catch? It's
Yeah,
like something that there's no way, and hence football, right? You just don't know. And I mean, and I made a mistake. It's not Warren Moon. He was eventually the quarterback. At some point, the quarterback. It
yeah.
was Randall Cunningham was the running back, was
Oh,
the
right, right.
quarterback. You had Robert Smith as running back. Yeah, Chris Carter and Randy Mouse, because that was the beauty of Chris Carter mentoring Randy. And it's like you had to choose which one you're going to defend against,
They had a
to
stacked
put that
offense.
safety on or whatever. And so it was pick your poison. Both of them are Hall of Famers. Gary Anderson, and obviously we just talked about it's in the first field goal he missed was to take him to the Super Bowl
Right.
that season.
They had a
The
stacked
first
offense.
any kick he missed, field goals, which the extra points were always right up against it. Not like today, but still.
I remember seeing Robert Smith, and he was not a conventional running back. He was tall. He was taller than most running backs. He had like this sort of he almost had a Walter Payton style. I don't want to say exactly like that, but he almost had like a Walter Payton style. But
Hmm.
this was a nasty running back. And I remember how easily he could like get the yards that he needed to.
Yeah,
I think he only played 7 seasons until he retired. He actually retired. He said, "I'm done." I think he only played
yeah.
7 seasons. And I was just thinking to myself, it was such a shock. I was just thinking to myself, what this dude could have done for this team
Hmm.
if he would have just stayed
Oh,
in. It, I
and
mean,
yeah, and actually, just so you know, their record of points stood until the Patriots of 2007 beat their record for how many points they scored. Ironically, also with Randy
Randy
Moss.
Moss.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so it's yeah, so if that's a troublemaker. I'm going to take it. It's not telling me on here who all went to the Pro Bowl. It's probably a safe bet. Everybody went to the Pro Bowl
Right.
on their roster, so it's not telling me on here. But so it's almost like, what's the point? I have to be reading all the names, it's just listing them like crazy. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, so we're putting over the '98 Vikings hard here because we're just trying for folks that weren't there at the time. The NFL was nowhere near as permissive on offense as they are today.
Exactly.
And it wasn't really until the Brady rules started coming in, they started being more permissive on offense. This was the time
And
you could still kill guys
and a much tougher defense.
in a much tougher defense. Yeah, so we're putting them over hard. Not that we're saying we're going to vote them over whoever, but it's just this team
You have to know.
was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It
All
was
right.
purely insane. All right, go
All
ahead.
right. So now
Talk.
it's my turn. I'm gonna talk a
Yeah.
little
Talk about
fit. I'm
Duke.
gonna stay. I'm gonna stay a little. No, no. Let's not do Duke. Let's not do the Duke.
No, you want
Because
to do
now,
Duke.
oh,
You want
okay.
to
Let's
do
do the Dookie. Let's do the Dookie.
you
Let's
want
do
to
the
do
Dookies
Duke.
because
Go
I
ahead,
guess
do Duke.
maybe it's right if I do it. The team I could not stand. So we
Oh.
got the Duke. Oh, I can. I'm a Carolina guy. Duke Blue Devils of 1992, who I think was
Ugh.
probably the team that really got everyone to hate the Blue Devils. So
Oh.
some say 34-2, best team in the mid 90s. Some say it was the UNLV team led by Larry Johnson of the Fat Five Michigan. If you remember that Duke beat both of those teams back-to-back years to win the national title in 91 and 92. Again, we're talking one season. They had three
Mhm.
All-Americans, Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, and Bobby Hurley. who was an all-time assist leader in the NCAA history and was a tournament's most outstanding player. They beat the Michigan Wolverines in a blowout by 20 points, 71-51. It was a blowout that everyone was talking about, was for real. It was not just 5 freshmen. And Duke reigned supreme above them all. I believe this is the year that also Christian Laettner went to the Dream Team as the only college player over Shaquille O'Neal, who existed and played college at the time, and Alonzo Mourning, who existed. So we're talking the 92 Blue Devils. Your thoughts on the Dukies?
You don't want my thoughts on the Duke Blue Devils. But okay, again, I can be objective.
Yeah.
Damn it, no, I can't. Look, Duke is. I'm sorry. Look, even I think I might hate them more than the Celtics. I don't know. Duke represented.
Oh, Kenny Blankley, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For me, Duke represented the ultimate in arrogance. I don't know what it was about them, but they just did. And you wanted to, you needed to, you were saying this was the turning point where people thought, no, Lord, I hated Duke long before this.
Okay.
I just never got into their style of play, which, I mean, you know, when you have a style of play, that's yours. Okay. I'm not really judging it. It's just, I never got into it, but there was always that certain air of, you know, aristocracy for me. I don't know why, but I just did not like the Blue Devils. They had every year they had All-Americans. They had
All-Americans, McDonald's All-Americans,
you know,
everywhere.
I can't you know, ignore the talent they had. You know, they had the Hill boys, you know, in Thomas and Grant Hill. Bobby Hurley was just a pest out there. I really don't understand how Christian Laettner got to be such a big deal, but he was. I mean,
he was Caitlin Clark before Caitlin Clark.
No, in a sense. He wasn't. No, he wasn't. He wasn't Caitlin Clark. He was that player that. Okay, honestly, I hate to compare him to this guy, but I can't really think of anything else. He was an early version of Nikola Jokic to me. Mm-hmm. That person that you just don't realize how good he is until he's like on the court. But in a lesser version, he was a lesser version of that. And I just couldn't understand how people couldn't stop him. Okay. Go ahead. This is you.
Yeah. So because it looks like the missus is almost on the way. So I will have to pause after this one. Okay. So what a team to end on. But Christian Laettner on his life's starting to happen. Yep, the miss is back. But check this out. Christian Laettner in this year alone, NABC Player of the Year, AP National Player of the Year, Oscar Robertson Trophy, Wooden Award, Naismith Award, Adolph Rupp Trophy, first team All-American, starting in 4 consecutive Hall of Fames. Of course, all ACC, you'd think, right? Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley, second team All ACC, Thomas Hill, third team All ACC, and we already said played on the Dream Team. Mike Krzyzewski is coaching, who also coached the Dream Team. He was on the coaching staff. He was an assistant.
He was on the coaching staff. Yeah.
So it's one of those, and it took years because I grew up. I was in North Carolina. I was very much into watching basketball at the time, and as a Carolina Tar Heel fan, I have actual real justification for hating Duke because that is the rival of the team I rooted for.
And I thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really something where, oh my goodness, it took probably me growing up, having a family, and then moving overseas and being away from all American sport to not have all that negative feelings I normally would have had for Duke, having to read this thing now. That perspective and distance. Because even when I saw them play in DC a few months ago, it wasn't that big. It wasn't like I thought it'd be. Where like, oh my gosh, because I was at Georgia Tech for grad school, and I'm
Mhm.
talking about I had duck, book signs. We're talking. We're just laying into it, couldn't stand them. But anyway, but I
Yeah.
think the legacy of that team for Duke, either they were hated before, they're hated after. Chris Duhon, I couldn't stand him. And so many guys that kept bringing in guys. And it's always those
Yeah.
white guys and all that stuff. JJ Redick, oh Jesus Christ, couldn't stand him.
Ugh, don't even
And
say his
and it's
name.
one of those things, and then and it was always the thing, the knock on Duke is that their players never panned out in the pros, which I think was maybe the devil getting them back for all their college success. That none of their
Probably.
players did anything in the pros.
All right, we're back. We're back.
Back in the game, back
We
in the
had
game,
life.
baby.
We had life happen, and of course,
Mm-hmm.
life always happens. No big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, so yeah. So we talked about the Blue Devils, which we can just go
Moving
ahead
on.
and move on. Yeah.
Moving on. Moving on.
So I think what I want to move on to is um, something. Okay, you know what? I'll just go ahead and say this. Let's move on to a baseball team.
Mm.
One of the better baseball teams I've seen in my life. The 1989 Oakland A's.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
this one is gonna be a little different as far as what the team was. So it's good to be remembered by your skill and dominance, or by the consequences that surround you. Luckily, it helps the '89 Athletics to be remembered by both. In the late '80s, early '90s, the Oakland team were known for its power bats, its great fielding, and its overwhelming and unstoppable bullpen. But despite reaching the World Series in '88 as an overwhelming favorite, they lost to the Dodgers in 5 games. So in '89, they came back even stronger. Same lineup, the Bash brothers, Jose Canseco and
Mm.
Mark McGwire, were the talk of the league during that time. But Canseco was out for half of that season, so it was Mark McGwire who got the additional help from legends like Ricky Henderson and Dave Parker to go along with his 33 home runs that year. So the big thing that we have to talk about, though, and I'm just going to kind of go off script.
Sure. Don't worry about it.
The big thing that we have to talk about is not only the rivalry between them and their eventual World Series opponents, the San Francisco Giants, but what this World Series meant to
Yeah.
not only the Bay Area but to America itself.
Yeah.
Just before the beginning of Game 2 started, TVs across America were waiting for this second game of the World Series, and then all of a sudden, all the TVs went out. And a few minutes later, we all learned of the huge disaster that happened in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
A huge earthquake rocked the Bay Area, and the series was delayed for 10 days while millions of people mourned the death and destruction that happened between Oakland and San Francisco. The A's are remembered for the World Series win, not because they swept the Giants, but because of their powerful bats. And not because of their powerful bats, but because they won in the midst of adversity and tragedy. Them and their Bay brothers suffered losses, and they both still managed to play the game through the pain. So I say hats off to them.
Yeah.
So go ahead. You can go ahead and start. I have my comments as well, but you started.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. We all see or recall the footage of this. I was really young at the time, but yeah, about a 10-day hold for the World Series, and sports, baseball, even in them days, they didn't stop anything for anybody. What is it? A team played a football. The NFL played. Was it the weekend? JFK was assassinated. Crying out loud! Like they'll just keep on rolling. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's uh, so it's just really one of those things. And so it's a heck of a season, always going to be remembered, especially in the Bay Area. And yeah, I mean, you look at the team, and you got Ricky Henderson as well, that they talked about. If you ever even you almost wonder, he was always, a bit of a personality, and they said you could hit him with the ball to shut him up. But all that's going to do, he's going to go to first base, and then he's going to make his way around the bases. So there's no point. You can't do anything about it. So it's yeah, it's a really heck of a team, and I know you're a California guy. I'll hand it back over to you. I think I got a little more research, a little something to pick up, but yeah, by all
Yeah.
means, yeah, your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about someone like Ricky Henderson, I don't think a lot of people
Hmm.
understand who he was as a player. Dare I say he was probably the best leadoff man in Major League history. He knew how to get on base, and he knew how to
Yeah,
uh, make it as an advantage. He is the all-time base stealer in Major League Baseball. When you think about base stealing, this is the person that you think about. The man just
yes,
knew when to do it. He knew
yeah.
how to do it, and I mean, even there were times when he took risks that you knew that they were going to pay off. This was a person who could easily get 100 steals in one season.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
that's how good he was.
oh yeah.
Even in the twilight of his career, he was still better than anybody at stealing bases. And it was good to like see someone like that in the World Series, and they get to show what they do. But yeah, I remember I was in Dallas, and I was at a friend's house, and we were watching the World Series. I was at my friend's house. Um, his dad was downstairs. We're like just kind of cutting it up and watching the game, and we see the beginning of it, and then it goes, the white snow,
Mm.
and we're like, what's going on? And then next thing you know, Roseanne pops up.
Oh no.
They went to a
Oh wow.
rerun. Yeah, they went to a rerun of Roseanne, and we had no idea what was going on. So we're just sitting there, just trying to figure out what's going on. And then they say, what happened, and they're going to live footage. And yeah, I mean, as a West Coast guy, I have ties to San Francisco. Um, it was horrible.
Oh yeah.
It was like seeing for me at that time. It was it was kind of how not exactly to this level, but it was kind of how you
Sure.
felt during the first part of 9/11. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't
Yeah.
know what was going on. But you knew it was a tragedy, right?
Mm.
And yeah, we didn't know what was going on. And then when they said, it was an earthquake, and it was a very powerful earthquake. Um,
Hmm.
I think it was, I want to say it was somewhere near a 7.4, 7.5. And for you who don't understand earthquakes, a 7.5 on the Richter scale means that it's a lot of shaking and it's a lot of devastation.
Oh yeah.
I've been in one of those earthquakes, being from LA, and it's not fun. It is not fun at all. And this earthquake was even more powerful. And just to see it happen, just to know and understand what an earthquake feels like, it's devastating to see. And yeah, it totally changed the whole outlook of the World Series that year.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of those things that just lives on. And I imagine in the Bay Area in particular, they talk about that from time to time. It's a fact of life, all of California, and just really happy for them. Just thinking about the team, just to give the flowers to the team, guys who made the All Star game that year.
mhm.
Dave Stewart, Terry Steinbach. We figured Mark McGuire on first base, Jose Canseco in the outfield was reserve, Mike Moore pitcher reserve, and Tony La Russa. Tony La
Mhm.
Russa was the manager
The
of that
manager,
team,
yeah.
and Ricky Henderson was the ALCS MVP. Dave Stewart, World Series MVP as a pitcher.
Mhm. Yep.
It's just a very dominant team. Uh, I don't quite recall. Now that we're going to get into the details of the A's, like what happened there, why it didn't stay dominant as long. Because I mean, with all those names and all
I
that,
think I think it was because they just
maybe it's that
couldn't get
earthquake.
it. No,
Yeah.
I don't think it was that. I think it was just because they just couldn't get it done the way that
Mm,
people thought. Because as I said before, they were the team.
yes.
They went to the World Series in 3 straight years, and they only won
Mm,
one World Series.
yeah.
So they got beat by the Dodgers, they got beat by the Reds in '91, and so I think they just kind of gave up trying
Yeah.
to keep this core together.
Sure.
And it happens. Especially for something like baseball, because back then it was really, really difficult to get to a World Series
Hmm.
if you didn't come in first in your division.
Yeah, I think you had to come in first in the NL West or East. There's only two, I think,
Yeah,
back then, or
and
was it three?
The NL or the AL. Let me
Oh, yeah.
see. They had the wild card. Let me see. Back then, you had the
Oh, there's
wild
no wild card
card,
back then.
you had the championship, and then you had the World Series. Because like right now, you have wild card games. No, no, no. I'm sorry. The wild card games are in the division playoffs. They have the division playoffs, and then they have the AL and NL championships, and then they have the World Series. I don't remember.
Hmm.
I know that back then it was still pretty hard to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
About 20 years earlier, just so because I know if there's a baseball purist, he's going to be screaming at us in the comments. You gotta get it all now. Yeah, so the NL, the National League, expanded to 12 teams when they added the Padres and the Expos. They split between East and West divisions, and this is all in 1969.
mhm,
So if I recall, before the NL Central, where they split into three, I
mhm.
don't know, and Central. I think it's something where let's just make sure they're going to be all mad at us. Fine, fine. 1994. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So this
yeah,
was the year
1994.
you had.
Thank
There was no wild card then, so
right.
it was coming. Because I remember the Atlanta Braves were the team not long after this in the NL East. But yeah, you had to win your division. Period. No wild card, and you just played the division, um, the East or West champion in
Right.
that series, and then you're on to the World Cup, and that's it.
World
And
Series.
they're World Series, and they're nice because they used to just say you had to win the whole thing just as a regular season, and then you win the pennant and you go to the World Series, if I recall. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
oh yeah,
It,
so it's a
yeah.
lot harder, lot less margin for error in those days.
All
Okay,
right. Yeah. So
cool,
go
cool.
ahead. Let's
All
get
right,
to
so I'm
number
going to stick with
7.
baseball. Yeah, let's go to baseball. Stay with it. And we're going to
Let's
talk a
do
little
it.
Cincinnati Reds, the Big Red Machine
Okay.
in 1967 series. So the Big Red Machine, even they sometimes call them the Great Eight, because that's where the lineup for the Reds really were. They were together for 2 seasons. This core of the team only played 80 games actually together, including the playoffs. But they pretty much destroyed everybody in the process. And the 64-16 record with that lineup when they had everybody, back-to-back World Series championships, and the people that they had, no one serious, just Johnny Bench, Ken Griffey, Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, Cesar Geronimo, Greg Foster, David Concepcion, and of course, Pete Rose.
Yeah.
It's just absolute dominance. I mean, the Reds were all the rage in the 70s when it came to baseball. And I think in them days, they always started the season the first opening day game was a Reds game. I don't think they do it anymore, but
Yeah.
just absolute dominance. And you want to get Colin Cowherd talking? I just never forgot this. He just loves this Reds team. He just like he'll
Okay.
find a reason to work it into the show, and it has nothing to do with anything else. So, so the Reds, the Big Red Machine. Any thoughts on that one?
Um, you know what? You go ahead and start the thoughts, because
Oh, sure, sure, sure.
I kind of don't have that many thoughts on them. They're neutral in in my brain, but you go ahead and start the thoughts.
Yeah. So really, it's something where they everybody I mentioned was a starter in the World Series except for Ken Griffey Sr. So they in the regular season overalls, we didn't really get on that one. They had in this year they had 102 and 60, 10 games ahead of the Dodgers, and beat the Philadelphia Phillies in 3 straight games, back when it was 3 out of 5 to get to the World Series. And then they swept the hated, I'm sure, New York Yankees in 4 straight games. So one of the interesting notes is that their attendance was well over 2.6 million people, which is a record for their stadium. I think they're still the record for the stadium and for the year. And it's just the legacy of that team, the Big Red Machine. Of course, we're talking Pete Rose here. And the question is, hey, was he gambling on this team, betting on baseball, and all that stuff? And it's unfortunate that that's what the team is known for at this point. I believe this was the year that Pete Rose injured a guy severely trying to steal home plate in an all-star game. It didn't even matter. So he ran it. I don't know if it ended. There's a part of me that thinks it ended his career, which is really unfortunate. But Pete Rose just went that hard at the game at the time. So there you have it, the Reds.
Yeah, I mean, I heard Pete Rose was an absolute beast because the man just loved to play the game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I know about this team is its legendary players. You know, I've heard of the things that Joe Morgan and Ken Griffey and Pete Rose and Tony Perez have done, and it's just it is quite amazing that you can. I kind of kin a team like this, a team that you don't know or a team that you just have heard about to, I don't know, let's just say the 80s Celtics, that they were put together, organically, but they were put together and they just became legends because of their play together. You don't really see it that often. You probably would see it in a team that I'm probably going to mention very soon. But yeah, for me, that's what they look like to me. If I was a young person today and someone told me about the Boston Celtics of the 80s, and you hear these names and you probably don't really know them.
You don't really know it,
but you know the names itself. And I mean, back then they, like you said before, that they didn't even play that much, but the margin of wins to losses, it's kind of crazy that they were that good and they rarely lost when they were all together like that.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think maybe just about all those guys, except for Pete Rose, for obvious reasons, are in the Hall of Fame.
Are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe they all are, without even checking. So yeah, it's and we all know that I'm Pete Rose gets in. So,
yeah. Enough's enough. I actually wish he would get in. So yeah, I mean.
Yeah, enough's enough.
I understand, but let him in. All right.
On to you.
Let's go to the next one. And yeah, I think I am going to mention this team right now. Let us go to a more recent team that I think just very much deserves to be on this list. I think a lot of people would say they definitely deserve to be on a list like this. The 2017 Golden State Warriors.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Not 2016, but 2017. Okay.
Yeah. And the reason why I think both teams should be on this list because they are both very, very much memorable. They're both very much, they're just
I agree.
Dominant. Okay. They were the best team in the NBA with the best player in the NBA for 2 years running.
Oh yeah.
But the greatest team in NBA history lost in the finals in 2016. And so they made sure that they would not be embarrassed again. Enter Kevin Durant, the the
Mm.
best scorer in the league, tag team with the best shooters to create a
Oh yeah.
multifaceted offense that no one could ever dream of stopping. And it showed in their 67-15 record, top five in NBA history.
Oh yeah.
They were the tops in offensive rating, and they were second best in defensive rating. And they did something that no one else had done before. 15 straight playoff wins. They had a combined 16-1 record altogether, almost sweeping everybody. And their only fall was in game 4 of the finals.
Yes. Yep, that was it.
But they did finish off the Cavs in the next game. Everyone knew the Warriors were going to win at the beginning of the season, and they didn't even make it interesting.
No.
That is dominance. So for me, it was interesting. I don't give a shit. Look, I told you before, I love dominant teams. I love dynasties. I love seeing people like they can take over not only a game, not only a conference, but an entire league. I love seeing that. And to do it for an extended period of time, it's great to see. It shows you that there is something on that team that is it's something you're never going to see again, and or possibly not see in a long time. And it's history in the making.
Oh yes.
You have a lot of teams that are good for maybe a couple of seasons and then they fall off, and then maybe they'll try and make some noise again, but not really. And when that happens, there's other teams that can come up and just push you off the mantle, and it's good in a competitive sense. But for me, I just love dominance. Um, Kevin Durant, he got a lot of crap.
Oh yeah, now I'm gonna give him some more in a minute too. I'm gonna give him some more in a minute.
Yeah, that's why I'm prolonging.
He ain't done. He gonna get some more. He gonna get some more. He ain't done.
I don't give a shit.
I'm gonna tell. No, it's okay. I'm not upset. I like him as a person, but Kevin Durant, go and have a seat. Don't get comfortable yet. Don't get up yet.
So this team again, when they started off very, very strong. It was like they could fit Kevin in to their offense seamlessly.
Yes.
Which you don't see very often. Okay, you don't see something like that very often. Like, it took a while for LeBron to acclimate himself to Miami. That's and they started.
Yeah, that second year. Yeah, they
didn't start off very dominant when it came to his first year in Miami. But for some reason, this worked. It worked.
Yeah, it worked
seamlessly, and I could tell that they had multiple offenses that they could run. They had an offense when Kevin Durant was on the floor, and then they had their offense when he wasn't on the floor.
Oh yeah.
So it was like you really couldn't beat them because both offenses worked. They had a second-ranked defense that still was clicking on all cylinders. How are you? And everyone always talks about Golden State's offense. They don't talk about their defense, which again, their defense was there. Their defense was awesome.
Yeah, he had Draymond.
This is why that they were a dynasty. So how can you hate on it really?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead. You're gonna hate on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hate on. No, I'm just gonna hate on Durant.
No, go ahead. Hate on it. It's okay.
Oh no. So because I think I definitely I like Steph Curry. He's from Carolina, Charlotte. His father's Dell Curry. I'm a big Hornets guy. And KD, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala. Even had Matt Barnes in there as what is it? Acquired during the season. Yeah, sure, great. And so it's really. And it was one of those times that the team was so dominant that when they started, people said, okay, now this is just not fair. at this point. And they had the 73 win season, and it was fairly, that's when we started, I think that's when we started hearing the term load management. That's, or at least what was the beginning of it, because there was no doubt in anyone's mind they could win any game they wanted to win. They dropped 15 games because they were just keeping guys fresh.
They were saving themselves. Yeah.
Now, of course, things went too far. Now, the guys have a late night out with your girlfriend. I'm just going to load manage and not play. And now they're getting hurt as soon as they play 4 games in a row.
Which I don't agree with. I don't like load management.
Oh, I don't like it at all.
I don't agree with it either.
We're here. So, you're here. If you're healthy, you play. You can always
that's
take 7 minutes off at a time or whatever. But
but that's what you're getting paid.
Yeah, healthy scratches are not acceptable in my mind. But I will say, like, I can only see it for like the last game before the playoffs start or something like that. Like that one last game, you don't want to get on a twisted ankle,
right?
Just where you're walking it. But anyway, but with this team, everyone said there was no doubt in anybody's mind they could beat anybody they want anytime they want. It was not a problem. They call it a gentleman's sweep, where they dominate the Cavs, but the Cavs got one game. Like, to be gentlemanly, you lose one, so it's
especially if it's game 4.
Just like this one we just saw with Dallas.
The NBA, the NBA said, look, give them game 4.
Well, you can win at home too.
Right.
Yeah, and the beauty is you can win at home.
You guys can win at home.
You win at home.
Take it easy. That's more revenue for the NBA.
It's another payday. It's another payday. Everyone gets a little more. And that's another payday. And which I'm sure they'll win it wherever you can get it. But if you can win any day, anytime you want, what's the point of winning on the road if you don't have to? You can say, well, we'll just take this game off and go through there. I think they swept everybody. Yep, they swept the first round, swept the second round, swept the third round. Yep, and a gentleman's sweep in the final. Gentleman's sweep in the final.
I like when you say that. I like when you say when they can win anytime they want to.
Anytime they want.
I don't know. It gets me.
It was awesome to see. Now, of course, we know the legacy of it is the concern, of course. Now, because the thing is, because it was a 73 win team last year, similar to the Patriots, everyone thought the Warriors should have won last year too.
Mm-hmm.
The previous year, Draymond got himself suspended for a game or and a half or whatever it is, and that was just enough. But you look at,
I want to talk about it.
Oh yeah, man, that's fine. But you look at it, because some people say, Kevin Durant, yes, he was the Finals MVP or whatever of the team. They did not need him, and they still talk about to this day, can Kevin Durant can be considered in the highest echelon of basketball, not so much the greatest of all time, but the highest echelon. And a lot of people say it's going to be difficult to put in there because the titles he won was a team that was already 73 wins, was already the best team in the league. So
and had already won titles.
So how much more could you contribute? So how much? So why are you even there? Especially to that beat you to do that.
Now I will say that there is a lot of talk, especially from KD, saying some of the stuff that he says about, he was asked to come to the team. And,
they asked him. They went to.
No. I know they did, but
they asked him.
Him saying that he made the team, going back to back and everything. And sometimes I just have to say, look, they did it just to make a guarantee. Okay, it wasn't, even if it wasn't guaranteed that they would win that next season, it was still a high probability.
It was high probability. Oh yeah, just keep going.
I would say 75%, no matter who it is that they were playing. It was still a 75. They wanted 100% though.
Yeah,
and it was because of what happened the finals before, and also this is Steph Curry's team. He made you the MVP of that team.
Well, certainly, yeah.
He's the one that stepped back and took it upon himself to say, "I'll let you take the rings of this and get our team to be as fearless as we want. But make no
Well,
mistake, it's
oh yeah,
him. It's him that was running the show.
and there it is. And you know, and I'll tell
So
you one thing. So I'm thinking about just you want to guarantee if you can guarantee a win, I'm taking it. Everyone's taking it. If you can say we're going to walk into the season and walk out champions, great. And one of the things I think that helped influence that, because they talk about the house that Curry built, because they started the construction, broke ground for the Chase Center during this season, January 2017. That's why I was looking down a little bit, say, because I know they were looking at getting all the approvals and having a really big, or not so much big, but amazing facility. And that's the I meant to say arena, an amazing facility in San Francisco itself. I believe it's in San
mhm,
Francisco itself. So they were still
yeah,
in Oakland at the time. So now you can get this amazing arena in San Francisco, the most expensive place in America to live, to do anything really, and you got this guaranteed dominant team. You're moving into it. I think all of that comes into play. That's a part of me that thinks there was some part of it why they brought in Kevin Durant, because I don't know, because you wouldn't think that would even cross your mind normally,
it
right?
it
It's
probably
like, yeah,
was.
right, yeah.
Yeah, of
You may
course.
there's like a dude here or there, an Al Horford, I don't know, somebody that's really good we can bring in because another guy may want to leave in the year. But would it even like did it cross teams' minds? Like, is it cross Boston's mind right now to bring in Anthony Edwards or something? Or no, it's not even crossed their
No, of course
mind.
not. No,
But it
of course
did
not.
or to bring in who was the MVP of the league this year, whatever. But it did in Golden State, and I think that's what it is. And I do think it hurts Kevin Durant's overall legacy because of it. He's crying all the way to the bank, I'm sure about it. But
Exactly.
it's what it is. It's what it is. And I'm sorry. You don't get that.
Go ahead, get it out.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
understand.
it's fine. No, it's
I
fine. No,
I
it's just
actually
Kevin Durant.
I actually kind of agree with you up to a
Oh yeah,
point.
this is true.
But for me, I just wanted to see the dominance, and I just loved it.
Oh
Again,
yeah, yeah,
makes me happy. It makes me happy.
yeah. And it's just it's and with KD, he ain't won nothing since. He's journeymaning it now. Um, he tried to do his own thing in Golden in with Kyrie in Brooklyn or whatever. His leg snapped out from under him because he's too slim, and it's just what it is. I don't know what to tell you. His leg fell apart in front of all of us, and now I think they got swept this last year. It's only 6 years removed, 7 years removed from this one, so that which was just some time, but hey, it I appreciate the fact that the teams like the Dallases and the Milwaukee Bucks, and I know your hated Celtics and all those guys are not doing this, and they're winning championships. They're not trying to. And as much as I love LeBron,
And
yeah,
Denver.
the fact that he keeps jettisoning people to bring in all stars or what he thinks are all stars or whatever
Yeah.
to try to win it, to try to do basically what KD just did. And in a
Hey,
sense, he did himself in Miami, right?
hey man,
That it's just, yeah.
you're bitter. I'm just letting you get the bitterness out. It's
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
It's okay. It snapped
Oh,
his
yeah. Man. So,
leg.
KD, what's what you gonna say, brother? Yeah, what you gonna do? He got nothing. No one credits him with those wins at all, except for like radio guys. Like no one's sitting around talking, man, KD was the reason they won. No, everyone knows that's not the guy. You're not the reason. He was along for the ride, and which is okay as long as he knows that, and we know that, and he knows that we know that. Then it's
Yeah.
okay. I'll allow it.
All right, let's
All
go with
right,
number nine,
let's
man.
keep going
Go
here.
ahead.
Let's just. So
It,
speaking of a
it's on you.
team, of a basketball team that uh, 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 did it the right way, you've got the 1971 Milwaukee Bucks.
Ooh,
So we're talking. This is an expansion team at the time, and they rose very quickly. Expansion teams always take ages. They still take ages to get on. Typically, NFL seems like they can pull it off, but every other league typically takes ages. And they had and Hall of Famers in Oscar Robinson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Woo!
tell
The
it.
whole team averaged double-digit points for the entire season. the whole team, with a record of 66-16, 12-2 playoff record. They won the NBA championship in the franchise's third year of existence. Any sport,
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah, see, that right there is amazing in itself. Usually, usually you don't see that from an expansion team, and
Nah.
and I think it tells you how good, how great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was. That he could take an expansion team, and within 3 years they can win a championship. It's yeah, I mean it is quite amazing. They had their entire starting lineup average double-digit points for the entire season, which I don't know if you can look it up. I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know if there's anyone that
I
has
don't
ever
even.
done that
Yeah, I got to
before.
look at that again. Yeah, but I'm looking at it, and yeah, player
But
statistics. Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing. Go ahead and take over a second.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and I say when you say entire team, we're talking the entire starting lineup. So the last guy on the bench, poor Bill Zoff. No shade on that man. I'm sure he's a very nice gentleman, but he only had 2.2 points average himself. But hey, that's something. That's something. And I believe we may be messing this up a little bit. Looks like he was still Lou Alcindor at that time.
Yes, he was. He was still
Yeah,
Lou
so still Lou
Alcindor.
Al. So we're saying Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because everyone knows Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But if you're gonna be,
My
we're gonna
bad.
be
Yeah,
exactly right. Oh, it's all good. We're talking
my
Lou
bad.
Alcindor. Their roster. I mean, yeah, Alcindor, Jabbar, Oscar Robinson as well, Jeff Webb, uh, and I'm looking for if there's any other people in the Hall of Fame. I think it's just Oscar Robinson and Jabbar.
Mhm.
Abdul Jabbar. So really just crazy. And you got to, and we talked about it in one of the in the UCLA video. Check that one out. But we talked about how crazy dominant Kareem Abdul-Jabbar ended up being, and with the sky hook and all of that, that it couldn't be stopped in college and it could not be stopped in the NBA. He could do that from the free throw line. So we could go on forever about the greatness of him, but this is that team blew everybody out of the water in those days, the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'm about to burn my house down talking about this stuff.
Oh, careful there. Yeah. Careful now. I know you
I'm
know
good.
that.
It's all good. All right, let's go to number 10.
Sure.
Let's see. I like that you did that. I like that you went with the. I like that you went with Milwaukee Bucks. I think I'll just go ahead and I'll bite the bullet on this one. Because this next one is kind of one of those, not really an unbelievable team. They were a strong team. Um, they did something almost very, I guess you can say, it was an upset. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
So let's talk about the 2005 Texas Longhorns.
Woo! Vinsanity.
University of Texas, yes. USC was on the verge of winning a third national championship and continuing a 35-game winning streak. Unfortunately, they ran into the juggernaut that was Vince Young and the Texas Longhorns. Young had one of the best years a QB could ever have. Over 3,000 passing yards and over 1,000 rushing yards, 26 passing TDs and 12 rushing TDs. And they finished 13-0 by beating the Trojans in the BCS championship game 41-38 in the final seconds of that game, in one of the greatest championship games ever.
Excellent. Oh man.
This was a heartbreaker for me.
Oh yeah. You're a SoCal guy. Yeah.
It was a heartbreaker for me because I really wanted to see it. And I think this was the year that I think this is the year that Matt Leinart had won the Heisman
Mm-hmm.
Trophy. And
Mm.
if I'm not mistaken, I think Reggie Bush still came in second or third
Yeah,
in the
something like
Heisman
that.
voting after he had won the year before. So he was he could have won back to back Heisman trophies, which hadn't been done, I think, in a few decades. But this game was this game was unbelievable. Uh, when you
Oh
see
yeah.
Vince Young, you don't realize how fast he is.
It didn't look like he was running fast.
But he
It never
he
looked
was
like it.
he was Randy Moss all over again, except he was QB. And it was amazing to see this because I was thinking to myself, yes, this is going to be kind of a hard game, but I think the Trojans they have more than enough to keep him at bay. But his stature, he was what 6'4", I believe, so
Mm-hmm.
he could look over the defense and see what
Oh
was going
yeah.
on. And that I mean that I think one of that was one of the main things that made a difference uh, in the championship game. That run that he did to take the lead in the last minute of the game was it looked too easy. Like I think that, I don't know what it was, but I think USC had just been beaten down so much
Yeah.
that him going in like that, it just
Oh.
looked too easy, and I was just like, oh, damn it.
Oh yeah.
Three in a row would have been so sweet. So, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, I give it up to them. That was an awesome Longhorns team. I'm not that much of a fan of the Longhorns, but that team was a little bit special. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I remember we were at a house party watching this one in Houston. So a lot of Longhorn folk were there, and they were just over the moon elated with what happened. And to think about what this meant as far as the dominance of the team, I mean, just trying to keep up with it. That there were Vince Young and six other guys went into the NFL draft, got drafted by the NFL that next draft in 2006. In 2007, another one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, seven guys rather got drafted. Two more undrafted free agents, and in 2008, five more from that team were selected in the draft. So it may be like 20 guys or something, quick math, that were drafted from a team, from this particular team, found their way to the NFL, at least when it came to the draft. Lord knows how many more may have been picked up or snuck in since this was last updated. And when we think about Vince Young, Vinsanity, whatever, think about it in Houston, because all people could talk about in Houston is, will the Houston Texans draft him number one overall? And it was Vince Youngstown. All people
one
talk about
of
was
the
Vince Young.
worst decisions any team
Mm.
could ever make. I was so upset about it because I wanted to see Vince Young in the
Well, we wanted
Texans.
to. What we were thinking, okay, let's get what we wanted to see because he's from Houston, so he's
Yeah,
from Houston,
yeah.
plays for Texas, wins a championship. Texans are also, just not long after the expansion, just not doing great. Okay, need a quarterback. Here's Vince Young, projected top five. I'm in a club in downtown Houston, and one of these really tall, one of these real big security dudes said they just signed a contract, and it was going to be between Vince Young and Reggie Bush. By the way, that's all the talk of the town. All people
Yep,
could talk about
yep.
Vince Young, Reggie Bush, Vince Young, Reggie Bush. And I'm in the club somewhere, and one of these security dudes, brother, never forgot it. He said, "Hey, yo, dog," I didn't even know him. They just signed Mario Williams to a contract. Excuse me? It's a defensive end, North Carolina State or whatever. But
Was that who it was?
yeah, Mario
That's who they
Williams. I have
drafted.
his jersey. And now, long term, it was the better decision just from the performance on the field. But Vince Young goes to what used to be the Oilers. in Tennessee Titans, and
Mhm.
for 2 or 3 years in a row, just styled all over the Texans. I was at some of them games, styled on the Texans, and people were just like, just and he's just, you got to be kidding me, because I was saying at the time, okay, Mario Williams is not projected to be number one overall. It's going to be Reggie Bush or Vince Young. So if you truly want Mario for some oddball reason, trade out of number one, get a
And
million picks from the Saints or the Titans, and then get Mario Williams. If for some reason you just are convinced you haven't seen
exactly.
anything, that's all you have, and we would have. Who knows? I mean, butterfly effect. Who knows? But
Exactly. Because I
Vince Young
you
owned that town, but not even being there for that. He didn't have the longest career in the world, but he was the man.
no, he didn't.
He was the man,
But
and the Texas Longhorns were the team. My gosh.
I I think yeah, in the long run, I think it was the better decision because I
Yeah,
think
long run.
I
Yeah.
think but in a different way. I think they would have I think the Texans would have really messed up his career anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had the
And
offensive line in
and
days.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean, I know you're saying long run in the long run it was a better pick because of the production.
The production.
But
Yeah.
Mario Williams was not that good of a defensive end. He was just
Yeah.
he
He's not going
he
in the
was
Hall of Fame. None of these guys are. I don't know if Reggie
he,
Bush is. But
he was serviceable. I'll give him that.
serviceable.
But
Yeah.
he wasn't anything like I just didn't get it. And I remember where I was. I was in Vegas,
Okay.
the weekend of the draft, and I had just gotten there. I was there for a taping. I was doing a competition. I was taping,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
I'm just trying to concentrate on this because this was my big thing. I was going to like try and wow people and stuff. And I heard about the draft, and I heard who the Texans had taken. This was the day. This was the exact day that I gave up on the Texans altogether
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people
because
did.
of
A lot of people did.
who they drafted.
Yeah.
Mario Williams, what the fuck are you doing?
We did not have a
What
quarterback.
what are you doing
It
in
wouldn't have
Houston?
mattered how well he played defense. He didn't have a quarterback. It's not relevant.
No,
It
no,
doesn't matter.
it didn't matter. And I'm thinking to myself,
He
you
got three
need
sacks again.
you need offense. The defense is okay, but you can either okay if you want a defense, just like you said, trade up or trade down, get some
Yeah,
future picks for the next couple of years for that number
yeah,
one draft, for that number one pick. But you don't take Mario Williams. You had Reggie Bush, you had Vince Young to choose from as far
yeah.
as draft picks, and you go for Mario Williams.
We get
I literally gave up on the Texans. I wasn't even
yeah,
on board with the Texans that much
yeah,
anyway, but I'm like, okay, it's our city, it's our team. I'll give
yeah,
him the benefit of the doubt for a few years. When he did
yeah.
that, I was done.
It was over.
That
Yeah,
day, I was done with the Texans. I didn't care what they did. I don't care if you make the playoffs. You ain't going anywhere.
you're not going
You
anywhere
got
anyway. Yeah.
you got Carr, and then there was another year that they chose
Oh,
what's
what was
his
that?
name Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney,
Jadeveon Clowney.
and I'm like
Oh,
seriously, this is
yeah.
why I gave up on him.
When you need a quarterback, and now we know like 10 quarterbacks are going in the first round every year now. Like everyone's hip to it now. That without the quarterback, there's no point. Just there's no point in having a conversation. But
What's wrong
because
with it?
you think about because there were so many people that got turned off it was a new franchise, and the NFL sells itself. They're not the WNBA, right? Where without Caitlin Clark or some of these other marquee players, it's not going to work. It's it's
It's
it's
names.
not but if there ever was a franchise that needed the backup, needed the people, it was the Texans. It's the Texans.
Yeah.
And if you brought in Vince Young, number one overall. Now, if it turns out he goes up on the field, if he has 3, 4 good, I mean, the jersey sales would be not even something to think about, and people would care. because the franchise was an also ran. I mean, and people even said it would have been better to draft Matt Leinart just to get a quarterback at all. You got to have a
Exactly.
quarterback. It would have been better to draft Matt.
They could have had Matt Leinart too. The
Yeah, Matt
Heisman
Leinart
winner.
went 10th, and he didn't do too terribly much in the league, but it would have been you need the quarterback, and I know we're going on. We're talking Texans now. Everybody's talking about the
I
station,
know, I know.
but the
Why
Longhorns.
y'all talking about that shit? Hey, we're both
Yeah,
from Houston.
exactly. But
Sorry.
it goes on to say how awesome this team was with the
Yeah,
Longhorn. That it was that big of a deal
it
that
was.
people let out there. I think there are people that still have not come to the Texans that would had because of this, and we did not
Yeah,
get Vince Young.
yeah.
Or you could, but they could have lived with Reggie Bush. You could have lived with it.
After I've
And
said
then
this before in the group. After this past season, what the Texans did, I'm giving them a chance.
you coming
I'm
back, yeah,
back.
coming back.
I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm
they
back.
learned now.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm back for a while. I love what they
yeah.
did. I love the
Mm-hmm.
everything
Mm-hmm.
that they did. So okay.
Oh yeah, we get good
But
stuff. And
yeah,
then of course, I guess
back
Reggie Bush goes down the street goes down I-10 to New Orleans on top of that, right? So you're
right.
seeing it. It's just oh my, it's just it doesn't get any
But
better.
yeah,
But
back then that
you wanted
was
one to
that
go to
was
Seattle and
unbelievable.
one to go to like Boston. You don't want them anywhere near you, but they're right down the street, right? So,
All
but
right.
that's the Longhorns, 2005. You got to consider them. Amazing
Mhm.
team. Very
All right.
good, good, good.
Number 11.
Okay, my
Go
turn.
for it. Yeah.
All right, let's stay with the football and let's go to the team the year before. That's good editing. The USC Trojans of 2004, just the
Okay.
1 year before, an improbable 34 game winning streak. Everyone was talk of the town. The SoCal, Southern Cal was putting all of college football to shame. They beat their opponents by an average score of 24.25 points, making most games look out of reach easily. Yeah, Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush, both Heisman Trophy winners, this and the next year, if you will, and made easy work of Oklahoma in the BCS championship, winning 55-19, capping off an undefeated season. Uh, Pete Carroll as the coach,
Mm-hmm.
USC just getting all the players. I got to look at that roster because I think there were so many NFL guys on that doggone roster. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I know, also, I know you're also a SoCal guy as well. So thoughts on 2004 Trojans?
Well, yeah, like I said before, this when I think of I love UCLA, but there's something about USC that just absolutely gets me, whether it's football or basketball. Um, I literally used to live right across the street from
Mm,
from University Village, and I remember those days when I would go over there, and there would be like a couple of shops that civilians, whatever, people that didn't go to the school. Um, there's parts of it that you're like allowed to go to, and there's shops there. And I mean, I haven't been there in decades now, but back then, um, it was such a nice looking area. And then,
hmm
and then across the street, it's basically South Central Los Angeles. But,
Yes. Is it
but
like Watts or
it was
something?
just, huh?
It's like is it Watts neighborhood is nearby or something?
No,
Or
no,
am I
no,
thinking of the
no,
wrong place? That's
no.
used. Okay, 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 okay,
No, it's in the central, but
okay, okay,
um, it's actually closer to downtown than you think. But
okay.
again, but it's this team was everything to Los Angeles. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it was so it was like they got back to being great, and playing in the Coliseum actually meant something again. And yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
this team, and I was still living in Houston at the time, but this team just really it brought me back. And the year before, they were shared champions. They split the championship.
Yeah, they used to split them back
So
then. Yeah.
so this year they were, this year it was no room for error. They were the team that was the national champions, and they did it so well. I can't even remember what kind of Russia Reggie Bush was, but when you saw him, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Unstoppable. It's
Yeah.
unstoppable, really unstoppable. They played Virginia Tech tight early on in the game in DC, 24-13. But after that, I don't think any. Only one that got close was Stanford, 31-28. Um, Cal was good back then. Yeah, so and we do have to recognize that they did vacate ultimately the last two wins, the Rose Bowl against UCLA and the BCS title due to
Yeah, but
sanctions.
that's going
But
to
it looks like
change.
that is since that's going to come back. I think
That is coming
they've already
back.
given back Reggie Bush
Uh-huh.
the Heisman Trophy he won. And I think because with NIL and everything that's going on now, it not I think they're going to just go ahead and give it back at a certain point here.
Yeah, they
But
are.
you can't take away. But we're talking about the dominance of the team, just boat race everybody pretty much, including Oklahoma. Uh, Bob Stoops, Oklahoma, I believe still, and
Okay.
just really, uh, it's so much so that when Texas won the next year, what we talked about in the previous cut, it was that big a deal because who beats these guys? It just could not be
Exactly.
stopped. It could not be stopped.
And it's always like that when
Yeah.
you talk about a team going back to Texas. When you beat a team like that, you it really elevates you because that's how dominant a team like USC was. No one really would even think about, oh, we can really make a game out of it, and maybe if we do, there's going to be a little bit of luck on our side. There was none of that
Hmm.
talk. There was none of that talk in 2003 and 2004
No, no, no.
and 2005. But
You just want to make a game of it.
yeah, it was just you. Sometimes you just going to have to lay down to a team because they are that good. They are so head and shoulders above everyone that you can go out and fight, but it's going to be a losing fight. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You're not gonna make it. It's not gonna work, and
so
it's not
and I
showing
and
me all the guys that got drafted. But I'm seeing names on here. I'm seeing Steve Smith. We know about Matt Leinart. We know
mhm.
about Richie Bush, Will Buchanan. Some of these guys were redshirt freshmen and all that stuff at the time. Chauncey Washington, Lendale White.
Lendale
Um,
White, that's the other
yeah,
bat's name. Yes,
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
he
It's
was he was just as dangerous as Reggie
Lofa
Bush.
Tatupu
Hmm.
rather. Matt Castle was a backup there,
Right.
and John David Booty actually eventually came on. But so I'll let you know. I mean, they played great for USC, not so much in the league, but that lets you know how good Matt Leinart was. He could keep those guys on the bench because I'm sure
Yeah.
Pete Carroll would have been more than happy to bench them if Leinart wasn't getting it done. So it's really uh, just really reestablished and kept that dominance going for USC. Just tough, tough out, tough out. Maybe
Yeah.
one of the best college teams of all time, and for darn sure deserves to be in this bracket.
Yeah. All right,
All
let's go
right,
on. Let's move on to number 12. And yeah, I got a good one here.
all right,
I kind of held this one back so I could
sure,
really get to it. So let's talk about another rather recent team,
okay.
but I think this one is really going to get people going. The 2016 UConn Lady Huskies.
Ah, they go by Lady
And
Huskies. Okay, yeah, yeah. It's not just
yeah,
like whatever a female husky is. Okay, cool.
so 38-0, number one
Yes.
ranked throughout the
Mm,
entire season. From from beginning to end, they were number one ranked, and
mm.
their closest win, their closest win was by 10 points. To say that this team was dominant is truly an understatement. They averaged 88 points. Their margin of victory was almost 40 points. Basically, ranked or unranked, no one had a chance with this team. They had loads of talent that started and came off the bench. They embarrassed Syracuse in the national game, 82-51, cementing their place in history as possibly the greatest women's team ever. Talk about
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're talking UConn women's ball here. I think it's one of them situations you could probably put several UConn teams in the bracket, and it wouldn't be. It was why we may just make a separate thing, just like UConn and Tennessee. There's so many so many teams there. Brianna Stewart, Mariah
Yes,
Jefferson, Morgan Tuck were first, second, and third round picks, respectively. This is a team that had the most outstanding. Brianna Stewart, the awards that she got in this year alone,
unbelievable.
it reads, I could do it, and I may just for a dramatic effect, but it lets you know how much of a bad A she was, and I believe she will play on the Olympic team that year as well.
I
We
think so.
recognize
Yes.
we recognize some people. I mean, Gino Oriama had the team rocking. We recognize quite a few names from our other bracket. You got Nafisa Collier, All American freshman team. Katie
Mm.
Lou Samuelson, All American freshman team or AAC, both of which are in the WNBA right now. I think Mariah Jefferson, WNBA right now. I mean, we're looking at and Brianna Stewart, I mean, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 individual awards that she
Jesus.
received. And Lord knows what else. Who the hell knows?
But
Just give her
is
whatever
that
she
from
wants.
is that from one season though? Is that
One
from
season,
one
just this
season?
one season, just this one season.
God bless.
It's
Oh, God.
the the in Gino Ariama, and he just really he had a system and still does has
Yeah.
a system in place that just makes this work. And it was something we talk about how women's ball is just not viewed in the same light, but it's just you can't deny that.
Mm-mm.
Many of these women played on FIBA America's teams, U16, U19, Pan Am games. There's a 2015 America's team. Yeah, some of those ladies played in that one as well. It's really there's no denying it. The UConn program was and still is amazing, and it's like this team. You look at Brianna Stewart in particular, just on her the strength of her alone, just makes them one of the greatest teams of all time ever assembled.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk that much about it because I know what will happen. It'll lead into WNBA talks and everything, and I don't want to do that.
Don't
But
want to do
I,
that.
I
No.
want I just want to co-sign everything that you said. This I swear this team was so damn good. This was one of the few teams that I actually did kind of look at during the season. Because like I said before, I was so far away from I was so far away from looking at a lot of sports that I usually did look at that that's how special this team was. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, the coach Gino he has a way of just
How he
putting
even does
people.
this?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
Just,
know how he does it. I
just
mean, again, you can say the same thing about Pat Summit, but it's
yeah,
like,
pass some of yeah,
but he's like Pat Summit on steroids. I don't know how
yeah,
he has. I mean, let's face it. When it comes to women's college basketball, he has done this longer and better than anyone. I mean,
yeah.
if you go, I would say you go back to what 99 or 2000. Actually, a little
Hmm.
bit before that. You go back to then, but really since 2000, this has been his game. For 24 years, it has been him and just a few people here and there that have
Yeah,
just been keeping the trophy warm for him and for the UConn uh, for the
yeah.
school.
UConn, yeah.
It's
And
just I
I don't
just
know.
can't and I can't
It's
hate on him. I can't hate
oh
on
no,
this.
no, no, no. I'm not gonna hate on
This is not one of those.
Gino, yeah,
This is not one
and
of
what they've
those.
got going on.
This is not one of those Duke Blue Devil type of things. There's something about this team. They're always exciting. They're always gritty, and they win so dominantly. It's just like
Yeah.
you can't be mad.
And then fun fact is like every game was actually televised, which for women, and this is before the expanded streaming networks we have today, where all my FAMU
Yeah,
games are televised now, for God's sake. So
did
it's not saying nothing now.
did
But
not
back
know
then,
that.
the games were on SNY, one of
Mm-hmm.
those New York channels,
Yeah.
as well as their Husky Vision, which I imagine is their own internal. College network, probably online only. They had games on ESPN3, and they had games on CBS. So it's
Wow.
really, and then they actually had their own. They have their own IMG Sports Network. Probably, I believe, is a local cable channel that they did have
Okay.
back in the day. Yeah, back in those days, that was how you got your local games. You want to watch some Dynamo, they got
Right.
some
Right.
random channel. They bought some airspace, and you got a channel now. But yeah, so that lets you know how important it was that many of those games were televised. This is not quite 10 years ago.
Hmm. That
So
that I
guarantee
mean
we can't get WM games televised now. Yeah, so but the fact that
that is
they're
amazing.
broadcasting colleges, it just shows you how amazing this was. And big shouts to Breonna Stewart. Oh man, that's just the more you read, the more you want to read. Woo.
All right, number 13. We're gonna do two
So
more.
is it mine this time around? I think.
Yeah, it's yours. We're gonna do two
Okay,
more, and then I think we're gonna keep the rest for the next
for the
episode.
next one. The next one, so
We'll
it's not too
finish
short.
it off. Yeah.
All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, so I'm going to go into a little bit of history.
Okay.
And so I want to talk about the legacy and importance of the 1967 New York Jets of the old AFL, now
Love it.
AFC.
I saw it
So,
coming, but
so the man was called Broadway Joe, and his personality suited the name. Joe Namath was flamboyant, outspoken QB, backed up his words. And for the New York Jets, he was more than just a fearless leader. The Jets had a defense that led both the NFL and AFL in total yards allowed with just over 3,000. And even though they had 11-3 mark, which is pretty good, it was largely considered there's no way in the hell they're going to be the NFL team's Baltimore Colts, which had Johnny Unitas, if I recall. But Broadway Joe thought they could win, and he said it. I guarantee you, we're going to beat the Colts. Super Bowl III, called it a guarantee. The Colts outplayed. I mean, the Jets outplayed the Colts and won 16-7, giving the AFL their first big win over an NFL team and their first, obviously, Super Bowl win because the last two were the Packers on the NFL side. So Broadway Joe, fur coat and all, limousine up to the plane and all, long before Conor McGregor, long before Ric Flair, long before
oh,
a lot of these
oh,
guys, maybe a little bit of Gorgeous George was in there. Long before all that, Broadway Joe and the New York AFL Jets. What are your thoughts?
yeah. So he's this team, and especially Joe Namath. He's one of those figures that you just have to learn about. And
Yeah,
even the year before, when he got his start, when he actually got to start for the Jets, everyone saw what he could do, and then in '67 he just unleashed on the AFL. Beating, he's beating the bigger teams, like the Oakland, the Oakland Raiders and some of the other big teams from the AFL. It's yeah, you have to again before my time, but from what I saw, he was the first superstar type of celebrity for the
I think it was
for
because
football.
Bart Starr. I don't know if he was considered and actually, I think at the year, I think it's 68 is the call. So 67, 68. Yeah, it goes
Yeah,
across. That's fine. That's fine. So 68 was the year they won, but
yeah,
67 was the majority of the season. Okay. Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was, Bart Starr, like
Yeah. I mean,
Vince
because
Lombardi, probably bigger than anybody else. I don't even
I mean,
know back then.
you think of the names. You think of the names like Bart, like Bart Starr, and then you have people like Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas. You have those people, but they weren't in the limelight. They weren't like celebrities. They were just the athletes that were good enough to be mentioned in
Yeah.
social in social gatherings. But Joe
Yeah.
Namath, he went for it. He had celebrity written all over his face, and he wanted to just prove that he was not just a flash in the pants type of quarterback. And yeah, I mean, it's bold, especially back in those days. I think it's very, very bold to guarantee a title.
Oh, no one ever did that before.
Yeah, I think he
Uh,
was like one of the
yeah,
first to like
yeah. I'm sure
be so
somebody. I think
bold.
there's a guy here or there trying to get his team fired up. I guarantee we're gonna win. Like people are like, we're gonna
Yeah,
win, guarantee that. But as far
yeah,
as like in that case, in them days, there's no Twitter, there's no there's no Facebook. You guys are talking smack. It's I guarantee we can beat these fools. I promise you that. No, this was really a thing back then.
yeah.
And I think the legacy of it, because they merged, I believe, just before this with the
Uh, I,
NFL.
I think it took like another year or another two
Was it another
years.
year? Yeah,
Yeah,
because it was something where the AFL was considered the lower
the lower
the
part.
lower
Yeah.
league, yeah. And yeah, the merger took place. Oh Lord Jesus. Okay, we'll get it later. But yeah, it's something where it showed that the AFL was a quality league, and there's no need to. I heard there was talk about potentially disbanding the AFL and only having the NFL. There was some version of talk like that, but when the Jets won, they said, okay, it's not just some flash in the pan league or something.
Yeah.
It may not be quite the level of an XFL or UFL team winning this, beating beating the Chiefs today. I don't know if it's quite that bad, but
Yeah.
it was up there. It was up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
was.
and Broadway Joe still, he's just the biggest. I mean, the biggest celebrity, sports celebrity, certainly, um, certainly by then,
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
at that time.
And it was a great team. It was one of those teams that you didn't see coming, and I mean, and
Yeah,
it
because
is,
and that's what makes
and
it special.
and it is considered an upset because of the league that they were in. So, yeah,
Yeah, and just in case you're curious, as far as the Pro Bowlers at that time, Al Atkinson, Verlin Biggs, Emerson Boozer, John Elliott, David Herman, Winston Hill, Don Maynard. We got Broadway Joe, of course, Gary Philbin, George Sauer, and the kicker Jim Turner. So just damn near half the roster of the Pro Bowl was the Jets
yeah,
at the time. So yeah, nothing to sneeze at for sure. And NFL had them as the 24th best team of all time on their list.
wow.
So, but maybe we can bid a little higher in the bracket. We'll see though.
I'm pretty sure they can. All right,
I'm sure they do. Yeah. Too
let,
important.
let,
It's too important.
let's finish off this episode
Let's
here.
finish it up. Yeah.
I know we only have 14, but again, like I said, we are going to have 62 teams for this, and the last two teams the audience is going to pick. Again, thank you guys for staying with us, and please hit the like and subscription button, hit the notification, and yeah, I want to get people. I want to get people on this channel because I think a lot of what we're talking about right now is stuff that you guys want to talk about. And we're trying to basically create a platform where you can talk about it. Talk about it in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
What did we get wrong? I know I did a lot of research, but maybe someone else did more research than me. So if I got something wrong, tell me. I don't care. I'll take it, but I'm pretty sure I got everything right. So
There we go.
last team for today. And yeah, I'm gonna start off big. I'm gonna end it big. Sorry.
There we go. There we go.
Let's end it big. At least in my opinion, because we're gonna talk about the 2001 Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah.
Oh,
What? What
I
you gotta
love
say?
it. I love it.
Oh, you love
I
it.
love it.
You love it.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Look at the
Okay.
Lakers.
All right.
Let
Yeah.
me just get my stuff together. Oh yeah.
So the
Coach.
league, the league basically made them angry, and you wouldn't want to see this team angry. But we saw them angry. And after a less than thrilling 56-26 record, it was still good for second in the Western Conference. More than enough for the Lakers to dominate. Shaquille O'Neal that year averaged 28.7 points per game and 12 rebounds. while Kobe Bryant averaged 28 and a half points per game. They
Mm.
were the only ones named to the all defensive team from the Lakers and the only All Stars. And especially Shaq, who was named MVP for that year. So, so they so they wanted to show that how the dominance could really flourish. They had a 15-1 record in the playoffs. Everyone was decimated all the way
Oh
to the
yeah.
finals, and
Oh
and that is where they lost their first game to the
yes.
76ers and the league's MVP, Allen Iverson. But they showed
That's
no
right.
mercy after that. The
Yeah.
Lakers had a mark of 15-1, which was the best ever playoff record until the 2017 Warriors, who posted
That's
a
right.
16-1 record, and it was clear that they were the absolute best. So
Oh yeah.
talk about it.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah.
one
That
thing that
was.
I'll
Yeah. Go
say
ahead.
is the only reason the Warriors had a 16-1 record is because back then in 2001 they still had a first round best of five series instead of a best of seven. So
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
only took three games to win the first round of the playoffs,
That's right.
whereas now it takes four games to win a
Yeah.
best of seven series in the first round of the playoffs. So
Oh yeah.
basically, it's the
Yeah. Well,
same.
same thing. Same thing. And you need to you got to get those sponsors happy. Hey, that's more games, more commercials, then more games people will watch. So
Yeah.
yes, why not? Yeah, this team was so dominant. I believe this was the team they swept everybody so quickly that before the NBA Finals, they had like almost a week off.
Yeah.
And I recall Rick Fox was like jet skiing in the Pacific Ocean or something, just because they had so much time. Like they swept everybody, and everyone was saying, I remember it well. We used to say they're gonna beat Allen Iverson and the Sixers. It's gonna be a three-game sweep. Because of those first three, no one's gonna they ain't gonna play the fourth. They're just gonna call it right here and be done with it with a three-game sweep.
Man.
Now we call that a five-game sweep at the time because that first game was an overtime game and they won four straight. So we kind of
Right.
say it's kind of like yeah, it's kind of like they call it gentleman's sweep now, which I only heard this year, but the five-game sweep, what we call it. And I mean, you look at this team. I'm looking at some of the names on this roster. You got Kobe Bryant, Derek Fisher is up in there. Hide your kids, hide your wife, well, hide your wife. Horace Grant was still hanging around. Ron Hopper was in the mix. Robert Ory seems to find his way to championship teams. I don't know how he keeps doing this. Tyronn Lue, I believe was the
Finally,
step over. One of these games was a step over game.
yeah, that was the first. That was the game
The
one.
first one. The
Yep.
first one that he,
Game one of the
but
finals.
look at the basketball mind we later learned about him.
Mm-hmm.
For Tyronn Lue, Shaquille O'Neal. Hey, Isaiah Ryder was there, and then one of Stephen A. Smith's favorite whipping boys, Slava Medvedenko, was on the team. One of his favorite whipping boys. So, hey,
And
had a little more star power on it. How
and
about that?
I believe Brian Shaw was still on the team at that time too, right?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Yeah,
Yep, Ryan Shaw
Brian
was on that
Shaw.
team.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, unbelievable running that. Good God. And it
yeah.
felt like it's one
This
of those teams that lost games only because I don't know. Shaq was in shape at the beginning of the season. He always seemed to get
well, I think that
put on
I
some
mean,
weight and then get work his way into the season later.
yeah, I think like what you said before, because I had kind of totally forgot about it. Yeah, they swept. They basically swept through
Everybody, the
all the way
entire
to the
Western
finals.
Conference. When
And
they
they
got
had
serious, it was
and
over.
they had a week. I think they had a week and 2 days. I can't remember how long it was, but yeah, I
I feel like
remember that
yeah,
they had a significant amount of time off. So when they came to that first game, yeah, they were. I don't want to say they were out of shape. Of course, they were rusty.
just
I,
rusty. Yeah,
I attest that to Russ because I remember that first game. I remember looking at it and I was like, man, Allen Iverson was great, but they had a long time off. They're rusty. They're gonna finish them off, and they did.
oh yeah,
I mean I literally remember saying this is nothing. They're gonna finish them off. It's
they
just
will be missed.
fine.
Oh
It's
God, yeah,
fine.
yeah.
So
It's yeah. This team, whew, Yeah, that's got to be up there because the regular season record. I know y'all gonna look at that and say, well, I mean,
They
got the
weren't that
Warriors there,
good.
20. Yeah, how good they possibly have been.
They
You
didn't
might want to
even get
go back. I
60
think it was
wins.
9 days. I think it was. That's what I never forgot that. I think it was in fact 9 days
Yeah.
that they were off. It was that much of a boat race, and that was the only championship final, the NBA Finals Iverson ever made,
Yeah.
as well. And I know that's unfortunate because everyone loves AI. But I mean, with Kobe and Shaq when they were working together, and they did a lot of years. It's not like near the end things fall apart, but they really just owned everybody.
I
Afro
think,
Kobe and
yeah,
Shaq. Oh,
I think, yeah, I think Afro Kobe was the best as far as I was
yeah,
concerned.
maybe the best
But,
one. Yeah,
but I think it was just one of those things where you knew it was easy. And sometimes things don't reflect um, what the stats say. And this is why I think a lot of people need to
yeah. So I don't have much I
listen.
can read here. Yeah,
You,
yeah.
you,
It's
you need to listen to like people who were there and people who understand what it
yeah.
looked like. Whenever people talk about the goat and stuff like that, and people
Oh yeah.
don't really know how good Michael Jordan was, or how good Larry Bird was, or how good Magic Johnson was, and you think about um, teams today and stats and players and all that
Hmm.
stuff. When you look at it, when you see it, when you have experienced it for an entire season or even a half a season, it looks different. So having this, 56 and 26 records, it
Yeah.
says nothing
It's a
about
mirage.
how
Yeah.
it is.
It's a mirage.
It is a total mirage. When you see them in the playoffs and they go what 11? Let's see, yeah, when they go 11-0
Yeah,
to
because they were a
start off
two
the
seed.
playoffs.
They
Yeah,
were a
as a
two
two
seed.
seed.
They were a two seed because Shaq had an injured foot. At least he didn't play in an All Star game. At a certain point, he had an
Mm-hmm.
injured foot in the season. So
And
I
there,
guess
yeah,
in theory, it could have been better.
I can't remember who it was against, but I remember that there was kind of a turning point. This was kind of like a turning point for Kobe. Shaq was
Yeah.
hurt sometime in the playoffs, and he just turned to Kobe and he said, "Look, it's up to you to just you know make them worry." And Kobe had one of his signature 40-point games, and you saw it. It was the emergence of Kobe Bryant in these playoffs. And yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else to say. This was,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that
It's
this,
not much. It's kind of, yeah, it's kind of hard to, yeah, there's not
well,
much really
when
to
we
say. I know a
talk
lot of
about,
guys left after that year, but we're trying to put
when
them over for some of these teams
when
to
we
let you
talk
know.
about when we talk about the dynasty of the 2000 Lakers, it's
I
this
think you got to
team.
put them in there. This is the
It's
team of
this
that
team. It
dynasty.
was
Yeah.
this year. It wasn't 2000, even though they had a better record. It wasn't
Yes.
2002. It wasn't 2009, 2010. It was this team that just jaw dropped everybody
Mm.
because of how unbelievably good Shaq was and how unbelievably good Kobe was.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you can't say anything else about it. So,
All
at least
right.
I
Cool. Cool. No, I can't. I can't say it. Somebody you may have to go see Rick Fox jet skiing to understand in the before the NBA Finals to understand how far and away they were better than everybody else in the league. You may have to look that up on YouTube. I'm sure it's there somewhere.
yeah. All right, so we're done with this episode, y'all. We did it.
Did
Um,
it? Oh,
so if you have been if you have been with us the entire time, that list for this episode is the 1972 Dolphins, the
mm,
1983 NC State Wolfpack, the 1982 North Carolina Tar Heels, the 1998 Minnesota Vikings, the 1992 Duke Blue Devils, the 1989 Oakland A's, 1976 Cincinnati Reds, the 2017 Golden State Warriors, the 1971 Milwaukee Bucks, the 2005 Texas Longhorns football, 2004 USC Trojans football, the 2016 UConn Lady Huskies basketball, 1967 New York Jets, and 2001 Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes.
Put them on your list. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Do you think that any of these teams should be in the top 64? Do you have a team that you didn't hear? Go back and look at the other videos and see if your team is there. And if not, let us know which team should be on this 64 list.
All right. Absolutely. Yep. You're waiting for your team that you're thinking of. You got somebody that you're really concerned about that you haven't heard yet. Write it down. Be ready. We're gonna need the people's choice. You're gonna have to tell us, who do you think should be in the bracket?
So yeah, we have
one more. The bracket.
The bracket. So we have one more list for you guys. So please join us for that next episode. And until then, love you.
Peace.